Hey everyone, it's Mare. I'm just checking in here on SickMom to do a very quick makeup tutorial with you. As time goes on, I'm going to show you a few more tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. I've been a freelance makeup artist for kind of as long as I can remember, and I've studied makeup. I have learned from some of the best. You know, Kevin O'Quine, and I really love Charlotte Tilbury and Bobbi Brown, and I mean there's numerous others. I think right now my favorite though is Wayne Goss. I've been following Wayne Goss for some time, and I'm going to keep some makeup tips that he gives us and some of the other ones that I find are kind of the best on YouTube. And I'm going to share those in a separate playlist for you. But for now, this is just going to be my take on makeup. I really believe that makeup should just enhance what you already have. It's not about covering up. It's not about creating a mask. I do know how to do makeup where we pretty much erase all of your features and then start adding them back in with contouring and highlighting and different shading. And you know, it's important to remember that that's not always the best everyday look. Having a really heavy made up look can just make you look a lot older if you're not using the right products, if you're being a little too heavy-handed with your foundation. This is going to be a really light makeup application, just something that's really quick to try and get rid of some of the dark circles that I have. And I know that sometimes my skin can look a little bit sallow, and you know, I love the summer. If I can get out and get a little bit of color in my cheeks, I know that I always look much better. But let's start a little bit with some tools today, okay? So this is Beauty Blender. It's just a sponge. This is a non-latex version. Most of the beauty blenders are non-latex, but if you're looking for some of the knockoffs, just make sure that it says latex free. Some people have a latex sensitivity and they're not quite aware, and especially if you're using something and pressing it into your face, you want to make sure it's not going to cause irritation. I will describe the products that we're using today, and I so would love to hear your comments. And if you have any questions about skincare, about makeup, especially if you're in the chronic illness realm like I am, you're familiar with having lots of weird breakouts that aren't necessarily pimples, but I get like little tiny water blisters sometimes on my face. And it could just be the weather changing. It could be something I ate, so who knows. But when it pops up, I usually have to use something that's been prescribed by a doctor to get rid of them, because it's related probably to the fact that I have psoriasis and eczema, and it does show up on my face, especially in times of stress. But anyway, back to our little beauty blender. This one, I've dampened it, so this helps if you're adding either moisturizer or water to your beauty blender before you get started. This just kind of helps to thin out your foundation a little. And I am using a very full coverage foundation. This was something that I bought this year and I absolutely love it. It's the Flawless Airbrush foundation from Charlotte Tilbury. I also do some background acting, and it's really important for me to have makeup that doesn't irritate my skin, because sometimes when you're on set for 12-13 hours, your skin can start to feel like every little fine line is showing up, especially if you're using a powder-based makeup or like a pressed mineral foundation and you're over the age of 35. So, and I'm 45, I'm really happy with the skin that I have. I'm quite lucky. My parents were both very youthful looking. My mom's 80, she still looks great. And she's always taking care of her skin. So I've tried to do the same. We'll talk about skincare tips in another video though. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm just going to apply a little bit of foundation to the back of my hand. And I don't even need a full pump of this. Like that's maybe a quarter pump or a half pump. And just start with that. I need to go and grab my magnifying mirror, because without it, I'm hopeless. Even with contacts in, I find that I have a really hard time seeing all of the fine detail to make sure that everything's blended in properly. So that's another tool for you to have, is make sure that if you can't see really well and you're not sure if you're blending your foundation or your concealer really well, invest. Like, you can go to the dollar store and get a $4 10 times magnification mirror that may actually help you apply your makeup a little bit more evenly. So hang on a sec, I'll be right back. Well, we're back again. So I'm just gonna start by dipping my beauty blender and grabbing some of that foundation that I have. And I'm just going to start with the corners here of my eyes. This is a lovely, lovely foundation. It gives such a beautiful finish. The one thing is that if you aren't using it with a dampened sponge at all or a beauty blender, that you may find it dries really, really fast. So you do have to work quickly if you're applying with your fingers. But for now, we kind of want to just get the product placed where we need it the most. And then we can go in and blend and just make sure that everything is happy and looking fine. I'll talk about using brushes versus beauty blenders versus fingers. You don't have to spend a lot of money on your tools, but if you are going to spend money, make sure that you're buying good tools. I have a really nice set of brushes that I just keep adding to as I find brushes that I like. So just be sure that you're spending the money on half decent brushes if it's brushes you're after, because the cheaper ones, the hair will fall out and it may be kind of coarse. It could irritate your skin. So what's important to note when you're using a beauty blender is it's like you're boop, 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 you're booping your skin. You're not trying to drag, you want to just slowly disperse it. And this also helps to get product where you need it the most, like in fine lines. Also, if you have a lot of open pores, this kind of stippling motion can really help just get in there. And I do have some larger pores and some open pores that are around my nose, so I want to pay particular attention. If you have dry skin like me, and especially in the winter in Canada, it is so dry here in Calgary that this really helps a lot, because if you do have little flakes around here, at least you're getting a little extra moisture while you're applying it, and then you can just let it set and see how it looks. If you need more, you can apply more. This is a buildable coverage foundation, and that's what I tend to go for, whether it's powder, cream, liquid. You want to go with buildable foundation, because otherwise what happens is you can add a layer of coverage, decide that you need a little bit more coverage, you go back to it, and it actually starts taking off the makeup that you put on. So invest in a good quality foundation. Charlotte Tilbury, NARS, Benefit, Jane Iredale, those are some of my favorite brands. I find their makeup is consistent from one batch to the next. It doesn't irritate my skin, it doesn't cause me to break out, but you have to find what works for you. I don't have oily skin, so I don't need to worry about getting an oily skin foundation. I prefer, and I'll actually add a little bit of oil to my skincare routine. I use a facial oil, and that's something that I can very easily use with my foundation, also to sheer it out a little if I'm finding that the coverage is starting to look a little bit too heavy. So we just kind of have a little bit around the eyes for the time being. That's what needed the most work. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend that out. And you want to do your ears. The reason for that is if you've ever noticed you have red ears when you're being photographed, chances are you haven't put any powder or any kind of foundation on your ears, and so the rest of your face looks perfectly even and neutral, and you know your color is exactly where you want it, but with your ears they'll stick out red. And the same thing can happen with your neck. So if, ladies, you're going out for a night, you know you're going to be photographed, make sure that you bring your powder down into your décolletage and down your neck as well, just so that you have the same kind of opacity of your skin from your face to your neck. So if you're just putting like a sheer translucent powder or an HD powder, there's some really great ones out there that don't even have any color, that are colorless, but still it'll kind of give you a little bit of that light reflection and evening out your skin tone as you go. So you saw that I didn't use a whole lot of foundation, but I'm able to kind of blend it out quite well. Now I have some trouble spots over here, and I'll probably go back with concealer, but just to show you, I'm going to take another dab of foundation, so maybe about another quarter pump on the back of my hand. Always start with clean hands. Wash your hands before you start doing makeup. Then there's no problems with using your fingers to blend in. I'm finding this is actually a lot more manageable with a beauty blender, this foundation, than it is just using it with fingers alone. It tends to blend and spread out a little bit more evenly, so I'm getting better coverage without a whole lot of product. If you ever over wet your beauty blender, always check that before you get started. It should be damp, not wet. If it feels wet, or if you can press it into, like just roll it gently on a tissue and you see that it's kind of leaving behind some water, squeeze it out, roll it in a little, where is it? I've got like a little face cloth that I keep here just to squeeze out any excess moisture, because you don't want your foundation watered down. You may need it a little bit sheerer than what it comes out of the bottle, but not watered down, because then your foundation can start looking streaky. Nobody wants to look streaky. Okay. If you notice too, I started going over these trouble spots and then I just left them for a minute. That kind of lets some of the foundation set, and then you can just gently go in and blend that into your skin. So it starts looking a lot more even right away without a whole lot of effort. Okay, go right up to your hairline. And when I do go in the hairline, you'll see I kind of do like almost, it's like a rubbing motion, just so that it'll kind of get in with the hair without leaving a whole lot of product on the hair. That's a challenge that sometimes you can run into using a pressed powder foundation, is that because you're using powder and you're bringing it up to the hairline, especially if you have your bangs or your hair is back, you don't want that first little line of scalp that's exposed to start looking red or overly white compared to your face. That's a sheer giveaway for someone who hasn't blended their foundation really well. Yeah, kind of liking that. It's good. And so this is already setting. The foundation is already setting. There's really not much more for me to do here other than just make sure I'm going all the way down to the jawline. And there's barely any product left on the sponge at all. But what I'm doing is just, you know, making sure that we don't have any hard edges to any of the spots that we've covered. And some of these are really tough. So if I was going to spend a lot of time and I wanted my skin to look absolutely perfect completely, I'd be going back in there with some concealer. But already it looks a lot better. Like I feel like some of the darkness around my eyes is covered. Okay. Another thing that Beauty Blender really helps with, if you kind of have that peach fuzz on your face like I do, my face is actually quite furry with that little fine downy peach fuzz. This also helps to make sure the product gets to your skin and doesn't stay on that very fine layer of peach fuzz that you have on your cheeks. So it's brilliant. I'm gonna finish this off with mascara. This is absolutely my favorite mascara. It's called They're Real, and it's by Benefit Cosmetics. Sorry, that window has a support brace in the middle. But it's a wonderful mascara. I absolutely love the fact that this brush has, there we go, it's got like the little fine bristles at the very end. So that little dome shape that you see at the top is perfect for picking out when your lashes get stuck together in the corners. So here we go. Whoops. Don't stick the mascara wand in your eye. Look in your mirror first. All right. once you have your foundation on, it's quite easy to clean up, you know, messes with mascara, especially if you just let it dry for a second. When you put your wand in the tube, make sure that you are swirling. Don't pump, because if you're pumping air in and you're actually drying out your mascara a lot faster than it normally would. And it is possible to apply mascara with your mouth closed. Okay, I'm fortunate to have great long lashes. The tips of my eyelashes are pretty much blonde, so you can't see. So if you look at the difference between this eye and this eye already, it opens the eye, it makes it pop a little bit more. And this is a black, very black mascara. I generally don't recommend brown mascara unless you are going for something like a no makeup look and you want to look like you're not wearing anything at all. But generally speaking, black mascara is the best for every eye color. It adds a little bit of color contrast, so if you've got light eyes, it just makes them stand out even more. And colored mascara, I remember when colored mascara came out in the 80s. I'm not a fan, because usually they're very light, and if you put a light colored mascara around your eyes, it kind of looks a little freaky. Okay, so that's just top lashes done. Just a quick lick to the bottom. And we're almost done for today. Next, it's just giving the brows a quick groom. If you have a comb, use a comb. If you have a spoolie, use a spoolie. And if you're going, what's a spoolie? I'm gonna show you in just a second if I can find mine, because I didn't prepare all of my stuff. I just got home and I decided it was time to give you guys a tutorial. Hold on. Okay, so this is a spoolie. It just looks like a mascara wand, but you actually can use it for grooming your brows. And I have a very strong brow, but the tails at the end are kind of weak. On a daily basis, I don't fill my brows. If I'm going to set and they need a more done up makeup look, most of the time the makeup artists will fill my brows, or I'll do it as well. But I'm quite happy with just having my brows as they are. I have a good natural arch, but that's also something that you can create just by grooming your brows. Okay, so just kind of take it across like that. And that's it. I'd say a little bit of lip gloss and we're all done. But for today, I'm pretty happy. I look a little bit more awake than I did before. And without all of the talking, it probably would have only taken 5 minutes. So, but because I'm demonstrating, I did take a little bit more time to explain. So, Beauty Blender, spoolie, face cloth, magnifying mirror, and a good foundation. Start there. Mascara, Bob's your uncle. You're ready to go and be just naturally glowing and beautiful. So I really hope you've enjoyed this. Please make sure that you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you know when the next videos are coming out. And I also invite you to go and have a look at our carnivore playlist, where I discuss the process I'm going through right now with the carnivore diet, or the carnivore way of eating. So I hope to see you soon and have a good day. For today, it's Mare from Sick Mom, checking out.